Hello and welcome in Amulet Podcast Season 2. My name is Valérie Jomussi and I am a French entrepreneur. I work with my family in a group called Upgrade and I am the art director of this family business. I am also a coach in creativity, style and image. And yes, welcome in this podcast. I am so excited, guys. Here you will find a safe space where we can talk everything vulnerability, authenticity, freedom, what it means to be human in this world that sometimes doesn't make sense. I will have amazing guests that are so inspiring because they are either true to themselves or just strong through adversity or just human beings that are able to share with you their intimacy. So thank you very much for being here. And of course, you can find all the episodes of this podcast on our website, upgradepodcast.paris/amulet. And of course, I am available on Instagram, Valerie DGMS, or @lesjooms. Well, you can find me anywhere. So one rule for this podcast: if you loved it, if you felt it in your bones, in your soul, you have to share it with at least 2 people, because that's how I make this podcast grow. Thank you again for your attention, your time, and just your presence. And let's do it. Welcome in Amulet Podcast Season 2. Well, if you listen to the first part of this episode on Amulet Season 2, then it's just the following part. And if you are new to the episode, I just wanted to introduce you to Murielle and I, which is, I'm going to say what I said in French, but she's going to correct me after so you can understand who she really is right now because her timeline has changed. But she's a dream alchemist and she helped creative women to just find their path, find their way, and I will say free themselves from anything that prevent them from being who they want to be. So Murielle and Marie, thank you very much for being here.
Hello, Valérie. Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So we were talking in French about your new identity. So can you just explain it a little bit for the people in English, and then we'll keep on going about the conversation we just had.
Yes, sure. So for the past 5 years, I've defined myself as a dream alchemist, and it's still valid because I have been building for 5 years a coaching business where I help, multi-passionate creative women. So that's all still true, but I'm also in the process of pivoting into something new and this new phase of my life, which I like to think of in buckets of 5 years, because I believe in 5 years you can start a project, build a project, sell it or make it come to fruition. That's totally possible. So this new bucket for me is a rebellious one. And I don't really have the words in French, so I wasn't able to tell you in French before, but the way my friends and I are calling it in English is the fuck you bucket.
Yeah.
So it's the bucket where I'm just like, I've worked so hard on breaking free of trauma, limitations, fears, limiting beliefs, all of that. And I've come to a point where I want to express my creativity in a way that's very genuine, authentic, and just for me.
Yeah.
So that's what we're looking at in the next 5 years. Of course, I'm still a coach. I continue to do that, but there is a pivot in there as well, and in my other businesses, towards more freedom, more fun, less have-tos.
Yes, sounds really, really nice and really courageous and really inspiring. Really.
Thank you.
Because the idea is that you're showing is that you're able to just define yourself. And that's one of the main power. I feel like once you understand that in your life, okay, you're good. You're good. You still have some stuff to learn, but I think you're good. You can pass.
Yeah. And one of the things that's interesting is, I don't know if you feel like that, but very often I'm an eclectic creative. So I have very different interests, lots of different things that I care about. And when you're in the online world and in the online entrepreneurial world, very often you hear a message of you have to choose. Yeah. You have to do this one thing. You have to, right? And it's the most painful thing that you can ask a multi-passionate or a creative to do, because the work you do, the creativity you show is part of yourself. So it's almost as if people are telling you, you have to choose this bit of you, and then you just drop these other bits, and we're just going to talk about that. Yeah. And so in the 5 years that I built my business as a coach, I really struggled with that. Before that, I had businesses that weren't personal brands, so it was easier. But with this one, because it's an expression of yourself and your image, and, you know, we're on Instagram and we're doing all of these things, we're podcasting, it often felt as if I was being inauthentic and as if I was like forgetting pieces of me that were really important. And so that's why this new bucket also is a bucket where I'm reclaiming, where I'm saying, you know what, I don't believe anymore that we really have to choose one thing. I think we can just be all of these things.
Yes.
And I'm really excited about exploring what that can look like.
Yes, that's amazing. It made me think about one quote from an African author. His name is Amadou Ampateba, and he was saying, there is multiple people in one person, you know?
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it's amazing. And of course, please guys, if you're not listening or hearing voices in your head, then you're crazy, not the other way around. So the idea is to try to, you know, identify them and maybe organize them and maybe listen to them. But the fact of wanting to erase them, I think is, for me, it's a mistake, because we are so much more than just one thing. Absolutely. And I think the idea that came from Instagram most of the time, and also from the entrepreneur real world, where they're telling you, okay, focus on one task at the time so you can blah, blah, blah. And I understand it, but I think for creation or for just trying to break free, as you said, it's also another constraint, you know? So if you manage, since we decide that we can create our own realities, if for you this is not working, then this is someone else's rules, and that's fine.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I agree. And I love that quote. I wrote it down because that's just too good. You know, and another thing is, as creatives, when like the creative process is often what is most enjoyable, the reason why we really do what we do. But when you're in the entrepreneurial world, people want you to have a product or a service.
Yeah.
So, and sometimes it's very complicated to put these two things together, because then you start to force your creativity into creating something that you are not really joyful about, or that doesn't make you happy. So one of the things that I want to try and do, not just for me, but I do that for my clients as well, is really liberate that creativity. Like it can exist in and of itself. It doesn't really need a product or a service. Like we can figure that out, but allow yourself to just enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah, enjoy the process. And I think it's a good metaphor for life as well. If you're just too stuck on the final, I'll be happy when, I'll be happy when, I'll be good when, then, well, that's a sad life to live for me. And the work that I'm doing right now is to just enjoy more life and also have fun every day. Because I know when I'm having fun, my little girl, one of the people in my head, she's happy. And then she won't be all crazy and crying and screaming all over the place and eating candies because I'm taking care of her. Yeah, basically. So I need to take care of her and making sure that everything that I'm doing is fun, is playtime. And in the research, a lot of things around play is coming back for the adults, that it's important to be playful. It's important. Like Brené Brown, she was talking about the wholehearted people, that the main thing that made them this way was the play parts, you know? So trying to make your life as a game, because if not, it's just a series of stuff that you have to do, and some of them it's complicated because you don't know how to do them yet, and some of them are not happening the way you want them to happen, so there is a lot of frustration. Whereas when you manage to have that as a game and be like, okay, let's, I'll try to do that, and it's gonna be fun, then it's fun. And it's not the result is just the cherry on the cake, let's say.
And we were talking about culture and consumption and consumerism before in our French conversation, Well, I think this comes back to that as well, because we have made being productive in the sense of having to produce something like this holy grail. And we have forgotten that play, rest, having fun, doing nothing is really so important just because we're alive, and that's the way it's supposed to be. We're not working machines.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know we're far away from toxic relationships right now, so I don't know if you want to go back to them.
No,
But
we're not. I don't care. No worries. I will
okay,
find a door. No worries.
okay. But I think that those are such important concepts, because if we are constantly trying to achieve something,
Yeah.
we are never going to be satisfied or even achieving anything, in all honesty. And so what I try to practice is equanimity, non-attachment, where I am detached from outcomes, expectations. I mean, I say it so nicely now, but in reality, I'm a human being, so I am super attached to a lot of things.
Yeah.
But I try to detach myself from many, many things as much as I can.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I'm always living in tomorrow. I'm living in the past very often, again talking about, you know, relationships gone bad. And the reality is, this is the moment. This is when it happens, right now, you and me. This is the moment.
And the most important moment, actually.
Yeah. So what do we do with it?
Yeah. Yeah, I totally get it. I totally understand. I totally agree. I'm like preached. And I think one of the things that is important, what you say about the rest part and the stillness and being able to be just like this, also comes with or create, I don't know, I think there is a link between self-love. And we were talking about that earlier for the last part of the French part of the podcast about toxic relationship. We were talking about the fact that self-love has played a major role in our ability to be into a relationship that were not good for us, and that the more we love ourselves, and the less we can tolerate shit, basically.
I like what you say, because I see a big connection between toxic relationships, and I guess we're moving back into that. But and also, you know, you can have a very toxic relationship with your work.
You can.
And it's exactly the same thing. If you don't love yourself enough, you are going to feel like something's missing. There is a hole in you, and you're going to try and fill that hole with either stuff you achieve, with busy work, with all of those things, right? But and a big part of our society tells us that we are our productivity.
Yes, we are. Yeah.
We are not our productivity. Absolutely not. Just the way as we are not the toxic person we decide to have a relationship with.
Yeah.
And self-love is the key, right?
This is so good. This is really, really good, because to be honest, when I wrote down toxic relationship in the subject that I wanted to talk about, it was really in terms of like, I wanted to something that will be help me heal, you know, in a way, because everything that I'm doing, I can't help but being like about me. It's a lot of therapeutical work. Even when I'm with my clients, when I'm coaching them, I am learning so much. Like, I can help you walk your walk, but I'm walking with you, and in my own life, I'm walking myself too. And sometimes it resonates with me so much. I'm sure every choice that I make in terms of, you know, whether it's art direction or coaching or formation or whatever, it's for me first. And it's so weird, because for a long time I didn't think I love myself enough. I know for a fact, because now I do, and I can see the difference. I can see the difference. So when you say that it's possible to have a toxic relationship with work, I'm like, girl, come on. Like, yeah. And I will go further and say, yes, you can have a toxic relationship with yourself. And I think that's the main, like, that's the base of every toxic relationship you're going to have. It's with yourself first. So if you don't love yourself enough, and I know some people will be like, oh my God, I am tired of you listening to that. Yes, but love yourself, and I will stop talking about this. If you don't love yourself enough, and you're not able to sit still in that love, no matter what you do, no matter what you think, you are loved by yourself unconditionally, it's a powerful tool. It's powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And once you get that, it's like, okay, then yes, no, I don't want that. Yes, I will. Yeah, no, this it's out of question, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. I would paraphrase it maybe a little bit, because for a lot of people, self-love is a very complicated concept.
Yeah.
I know it was for me, right? The first time that I heard that, like now it's probably 7 years ago or something, and that somebody said, you have to love yourself more. I was like, what are you talking about? Love?
Yeah.
Even the word love was a difficult word for me. So that
Yeah.
was the whole process. But so if we paraphrase it a little bit, I believe that you can have a toxic relationship with anything you can have a relationship with, which
Yes.
is pretty much everything in this world, right? You can
Yeah.
relate to everything. And what happens when it becomes, why does it become toxic? It becomes toxic when you think that that thing is going to fill
Yeah.
what you think is missing
Oh
inside
my
of you,
God. Yes.
right?
Yes.
So when you externalize this need, but when you internalize it, and when you realize, because in theory it's very simple, in practice it's extremely complicated to get there. It's a really difficult journey, the journey of self-love.
Yeah.
But in theory it's a very easy concept. The concept is, you will never find what you're looking for outside of yourself.
Yes. Yes.
That's it. But then when you know that, it's like, okay, so how do I give that to myself? And then you fall flat on your face, that you love yourself a little bit, but then you see a cool guy who's not
Yeah.
available, who and then you start again. So, but in theory, or you disappear in your work,
Yeah.
or you think you need, I mean, I know some friends who, and I'm sure they're going to forgive me for saying this, who tend to look for what they're missing in shopping,
Of course.
or they spend it, on social media, or they,
Yeah.
whatever.
And that's where addictions take a big part
Yes.
of it. Yeah, addiction is definitely linked to something that you're missing, or a part of you that you want to numb, and then you're gonna find it somewhere else. But it's just an illusion.
But don't you think that when, because we were talking about this comfort zone piece before, right? Where you choose wrong because you're familiar with the feelings that you're going to get.
Yeah,
Would you say that you could be addicted to those feelings?
of course.
That you want to stay there somehow?
Yeah, definitely. I think I was definitely addicted to it.
Yeah,
And
me
I think
too.
that I'm not quite sure that addiction can just disappear. I think it's just a circuit in your brain, and you're gonna create another one that is gonna be um, more used. I will say that, but the other way, there is still the footstep on it. So if I find a situation where it feels like it, I will have to tell myself, oh, you're walking down that path, don't go, come back, it's just that I'm doing that quicker. It took me maybe 4 years. Now I'm like, oh, this person, no, this is
I
not,
love
I
that.
don't feel safe. Yeah, I don't feel safe, I don't like that, I don't appreciate that. And just to be able to say no, this is not the way I want to be treated. And if it's the way you treat people, and I totally respect that, but we will not be into relationship. That's the part where we are talking about humans. But for instance, for me, I have a major addiction to sugar. I think it's getting better and better. So I will not say even for manifestation that I have an addiction, but that's another. But I know that I have to be really cautious all the time, because if I'm really tired or upset, or hormonally in a way, in a certain place, I will tend to eat more sugar, and I will tend to enjoy it because it makes me feel like I'm loved and I'm safe, and everything. So I think it's always there somewhere, but I'm not a specialist on that, so it's just my experience.
Yeah, it's also just my experience,
What about
obviously.
you?
Well, I would agree, and I do recognize now when I make choices that are not good for me. I have a tendency to be a workaholic. I
Yeah.
know that I can go back to that. It's easy for me. It's very comfortable. I know, how that feels. But I would say even with potential partners, it's still tricky. As you were saying, I recognize it, but there is a real fight going on. right? Like when you have to fight against une mousse au chocolat or whatever, you know, like, you know, it's in the fridge and you know you shouldn't touch it. And I can have that with people that I like for the wrong reasons.
I know.
For a number of weeks. Like it takes a long time.
Yeah, it takes a long time.
And the only solution that I found so far, even though I can resist, it still hurts. There are moments where it's really hard to, you know, bite your tongue and you know, leave them where they're at. And what I found to be really helpful is to try and detach yourself as much as possible from those people, which is also very, very hard to do.
It is. It is.
How is that with you, Valerie? I'd love to know.
It resonates so much with me, and I have a a confession to make. I hope it's gonna help people because let's be naked all the way. I don't care. I care, but it's fine. I like lately. I was thinking. So a guy that I used to date. Let's say that we had a misunderstanding, but I don't think it was, but I will give that to him. So when I thought that there was a possibility for us to maybe get back together, I was like, well, he is amazing. He is like this, and he has this, and he's man, and he is. I'm not like he is. I'm not judging him and saying that he's a bad guy, but I was really also projecting a lot on him, and also I was blinded, like definitely. And it took me to go all the way, and since I was really, it's really funny because I was also in another way deciding to love myself more and to walk my talk. So if I say I want something, I'm gonna go get it because I love myself and I deserve to go all the way. So I'm here being like, okay, I want this guy. Apparently it's an open door, it's possible, so I'm gonna go all the way, but I'm still projecting, I'm still blind, I'm still thinking that it can be nice when I have a lot of signals that tell me that maybe that's not what you need, and you don't want to listen to it, and we'll show you, you know. And so at the end it didn't happen, and then when it didn't happen, I was of course disappointed because I was like, first of all, I didn't get the chance to be the badass all the way, because for me, it was not a problem to go till the restaurant and tell him, this is how I think, this is how I feel, I think but I couldn't go. So it was really frustrating for me. And also I realized that it was the behavior in his part was not what I expected. And the way he handled the situation. And I was like, so maybe I was just projecting. Maybe I was just blind. Took me that to understand that I was still wanting to go with guys that were not emotionally available.
Yeah. I have a similar experience, to be honest, from not so long ago. And I so understand what you mean between I'm this badass woman who manifests everything she wants, right? Because that's the message. And then, so of course I'm going to go for this guy because that's what I want. But then at the same time, ignoring the signals of mediocrity, at least in my case, because obviously this was a person that wasn't available, that actually made that very clear. So that's a good thing. I'm happy with that. But nonetheless, the non-availability makes it all the more interesting.
Of course.
So you start to create your own picture, your own thing. And then what you realize is that you are willing to settle for less than what the badass part told you that you were going for, right? Yeah. And I think that's where you have to, but it's hard. I don't know how you deal with it emotionally, but for me, it does sting, it does sting because, and this is going back to the original wound, really.
Exactly.
And so you still, even though the situation is different, you're older, you want that wound to heal. You want it to heal. So when you feel it again, and that's what I was saying before, like you are looking for that external thing that is going to heal that. So that makes it a very dangerous cocktail.
It is, yeah. I think for me, what happened, I'm really thankful about that situation at the end. I just decided to cut relationship with that person in general because I realized that all those years I was just letting it open just in case, but we're not really friends. So I just decided to, shut the doors of the energetic connection that I think we had maybe even if it was little. And it taught me that I'm really thankful, really, because it every time there is for me a rejection, my friend Christelle, she told me it's not a rejection, it's a redirection. And I'm like, yes,
I
yes,
love that.
yes.
I have
And
to
it's a
write it down.
redirection because now I know what kind of, because it's a thing to know, okay, what, like the list, we were talking about manifestation. Having kind of a list, but an idea of the values that you're looking for in someone. I think that without all the relationships that I had that were not the best, I will not be able today to say exactly what I want and what I need in a relationship and what kind of man I want to be with. Because one, I think I deserve it. Two, because I am working really, really hard to be that person myself, not only asking for someone to be something. And I'm here being all jealous and codependent. I'm working on that really hard. And yeah, so I'm thankful for everything, really. Like, and as I told you in the French version, for my ex 6 years, I forgave him. I really did, because also I didn't want to have any link whatsoever with him. But also because I think that even if it was one of the hardest relationships that I ever had, maybe with myself was the hardest, but I mean with someone else, it brought me so much. I will never be sitting here talking about that with you and loving myself the way I love myself today, and being like madly in love, like really madly in love with myself, and being like, my life is awesome. I don't need anything else, really.
Mm-hmm.
But it took me a lot of roller coasters.
And yeah, I agree. We don't need anything else, but a little bit of sex once in a while is fine.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, yeah.
Yeah, of course.
So this is still the dilemma. How do you fix that? Like, how do you?
It's hard, girl. I understand. And I was talking about that. I don't know with who. I think it was with a friend of mine. I'm like, the more conscious you are, the pickier you are. So it's not like you can have sex with anyone. And it's annoying because sometimes that's all you need. Like, hey, come on, I'm ovulating. Let's do this. No, because your heart is telling you no, and your head is telling me no, and you're like, ugh, annoying.
Yeah, so true, so true. But what you were saying about, because you had these redirections, you were able to put together like a portrait or an idea of what you want your ideal partner to look like. That is so interesting, because when I was that empty shell at the end of my marriage, I took a piece of paper and a pen, and I was going to write down like who I wanted to be with, and I couldn't put anything on paper. I was so empty that I didn't even dare to ask for anything. So it took me a long time to get back to, it should be this and that and that. And I think that is part also of this journey towards self-love, but also towards wanting the best there is for yourself. Yeah. And we live in a world where, especially, and we were talking about, how difficult it is for men and women, but I think maybe in this case, women do have it harder. We're taught to be nice and to be sweet and not to speak too much and not to ask too much. I mean, and I know times are changing, it's different. We're voicing, we're strong and loud, but it's definitely something that I grew up in. Like, don't make a fuss, don't ask for too much, be quiet. So I think that's been part of the reason why I made such bad choices, because I didn't have a picture of what I was allowed to want
and to be and to do.
Yes.
Oh my God, this is so true. Like, it gave me goosebumps. This is so true. And yet, with everything, I think it's so beautiful, That's the part of me. I think that's the artist in me who say, well, in darkness, there is beauty. Yes, I think it's so beautiful. Once you find that light needs darkness to be, I think it's so beautiful. And the more we're going to voice it, the more we're going to talk about it, the better it's going to be for sisters and daughters and mothers that feel that maybe they are living this thing alone. No, because we are all so connected, and our stories, even though we are apart, are kind of always kind of the same, you know? It's like, I don't know how many kind of story that you can have, but you can find someone who's living the same struggle as you. You can find someone who doesn't know how to love himself or herself. You're not alone. And for me, that's what makes the beauty of being a human being, is that, yeah, you're not alone.
Yeah, we're sharing so many experiences,
Yeah.
right? And even just you and I talking now, for instance, it's very healing for me.
It is.
Right?
Yeah.
Like somebody else telling me I have the same struggles and we are both, you know, strong and independent and ambitious, and still we have these things, and the shame, I think, has to go.
Definitely.
Because it's not shameful, it's
No.
just human.
It is.
So if we can have more people voicing it the way that you're doing and the way we're doing it now, I think the better off we're all going to be.
Yes. Oh my God, that was so good. Thank you so much. Like, I knew it would be good, but I didn't know it would be that good. And it's the thing is, when I'm talking to people in those intimate conversation, it's so, yes, as you said, it's so healing. Like, I feel so blessed and honored that you were able to give me your time to share it with me and to share your story. I really admire you for everything that you're doing, because even though we are not like seeing each other or knowing each other, I can feel really connected really fast with you. And you know, I'm always reposting all your quotes. I'm like, yes. Because it's so true, and I want to thank you for that, for sharing that intimacy with me and for allowing me to see you. Really, I appreciate.
Oh, thank you so much, Valerie. It was such a pleasure being here. And you know, I want to give all of that right back to you. I think you can only be seen if you have somebody that is also willing to be seen. So I think we did a good job today, loving ourselves and loving each other.
Yes, definitely. And yes, loving each other, definitely. So thank you very much. Guys, if you want to find out about Murielle and Marie, I will put all the information in the description. But yeah, make sure you follow her on Instagram. She has amazing package if you want to get unstuck, if you feel overwhelmed, if you feel like you're lacking motivation. She has everything for you. And I have to say, your bi-weekly newsletter is really good as well. So guys, just go on our website.
Thank you.
Buy everything.
Thank you so much.
Invest in yourself. Yeah, really, really. I will put all the information. And last thing, what would you say to your younger self to finish the podcast? What would you say?
Well, I definitely would tell her that she doesn't need to worry so much. And that she doesn't need to think so much about what other people are going to think of her, that her ideas and her dreams are valid, and those are the ones she should go for, not the ones of other people.
Yes, well preached. So guys, just listen to her advice, really. I think it will help you just live a life that matters to you, and also remember that the most important moment is the moment you are right now. The rest doesn't exist, so just enjoy it. Thank you very much, guys, and see you next week for Amulette. I love you and take care. Bye.
Bye.
Upgrade Podcast, a company from the Upgrade Group by the Drums, presented Amulet Podcast, a podcast that allows you to become a magician and artist of your own life, presented by Valerie from the Drums, artistic director at Upgrade and certified coach in creativity and image. Go to upgradepodcast.paris to discover all of our other podcasts. Have a nice day.